Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Non-Scripted Ramblings. And now we are officially past the halfway mark of the countdown to Avengers Infinity War, because this is film number 9 that we need to watch, or that I have watched, which means we're talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, which is one of the best Marvel films to date, period. I wouldn't say, I think after Avengers, it's the film I think is the best, if I can find my words. That'd be nice. Yeah, I don't think it's better than Avengers, but it's close second, and it's definitely my top 5 favorite of all time. But like after watching this movie, it's just so good. It's everything about it from start to finish is just on point, and just, yeah, it's just, there's not really anything super wrong with it. It's perfect. It's a near perfect film. I love it. So let's break down the trailer. I watched the trailer before recording, as I've been doing, revisiting some of these trailers, and now as time's gone on, these trailers are getting better and better. They're getting more, what's the right phrase? Like, I don't know, they're becoming more like the trailers we expect for Marvel movies now, whereas like the first 5 or 6 of them were very much, you know, or phase 1, all the phase 1 trailers are very kind of average kind of trailers, like they're fine, but you know, they just, for some reason, they just got better editors and better, you know, just the way it's all cut together, the trailers have just gotten better every time, and this one is awesome. And the really interesting thing I've noted is that, like, if you weren't a Marvel fan, like a comic book fan, and you didn't know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were, you wouldn't have known this was a Marvel film until the very end, when the little logo pops up above the title of the film, Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, because the only reference in the trailer to anything else outside of, outside of that's MCU related, it was the brief shot of the Collector, Benicio del Toro. He's the kind of connective tissue here in this one, because we last saw him in Thor: The Dark World in the first post-credit scene, when Sif and Volstagg took the ether to him. Where we stand at the time this movie came out, it was almost a year since The Dark World came out, and that was the last time we saw that, so yeah. A lot's happened. But yeah, it's a good trailer. It's a really good trailer. They use Hooked on a Feeling really well. It's, you know, definitely that signature song of that movie, really, I feel. I mean, that and Come and Get Your Love. It's really good. That's what opens the movie. That's my favourite song on the soundtrack, which, if you know me, is controversial, and we'll get to that very shortly. Yeah, good trailer. Loved it. Let's talk about the movie. Okay. Gosh, how do I even start this? Like, this is how you do an origin movie, like, hands down. Because what they've done is just got this group of characters that we've never seen on screen in any fashion at all until this point. Like, no one really even knew who they were. They were obviously established in the Marvel universe, but like in the comics, but not on screen in any way. So for it to be this successful straight out the gate was just, A, no one was expecting it, and B, is just like just lightning in a bottle, you know, once in a lifetime kind of success for this film. Just everything is right about it. Like, everything works. There really isn't a single weak element. It does a good job of introducing every single character, and all of these characters you are meeting for the first time, except for the Collector, and his little assistant. But so we're introducing all these new characters. We're setting up all these new worlds. We're getting Marvel in space. You know, as far as we've gone into space was going to Asgard and, the other realms. We've never really done they've never done a sci-fi movie proper until this. and this was the first time, and it was setting all of this up, all these different locations as part of the MCU. You know, we're not on Earth anymore. I mean, the movie starts on Earth, which is a really good way to kind of ground your viewer, because you don't just meet Peter Quill in space. You meet him when he's a kid and when he gets abducted after his mum passes away, which is really sad and emotional to watch, especially after you watch Volume 2 and you know how she... Anyway, we'll get to that. Give me a few days, we'll get to that video. But yeah, it's just so well done, because like, you know, like I was saying, yeah, you're grounded literally on the ground, and then you kind of go on the journey with Peter, I guess. Like, he's your introduction to the world. It was the perfect way to set up the entire story and the entire movie. And, you know, getting Chris Pratt to play your character, like, you really can't go wrong. He is just fantastic. Like, he was a perfect choice. I mean, you know, Jensen Ackles from Supernatural was going to play him as well, I think, or there was like, he just missed out the role, or he was offered the part, turned it down because of Supernatural. I'm fairly certain that's how the story goes. But in any event, that worked out very, very well, because Chris Pratt is Star-Lord just as much as all of the other Avengers are their characters, and I think that's what's worked best for that movie. That's why this movie works, is because the people that cast these films are just so on point in who they pick. And if they pick people that just weren't convincing or didn't embody the character in this way, or, you know, like, it wouldn't work as well. You know, I mean, obviously these movies don't work without your people behind the scenes, but obviously the actors are a big part of it. And yeah, the actors that are in these roles really make these movies that extra bit special, because you can tell the commitment they're putting in and how much they're giving to the role, and it's just wonderful to see. And like, so Chris Pratt just embodies Star-Lord very, very well, very, very well. Yeah, so I really love his introduction. Come Get Your Love is such a great song, and that opening scene of him, you know, looking for the orb and dancing along is just wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. And it was, yeah, a really lovely way to introduce him. And then, you know, it doesn't take long. The movie is like not crazy fast-paced, but fast-paced enough that, you know, we don't get stuck with one character before we have to introduce another. And it's organic in the way they're all introduced as well. It's not, here's a character, oh look, here's another character, blah blah blah, oh look, there's another one. Like, it flows so well. You know, and we don't even meet Drax until we get to I've forgotten the name of the kiln, the prison, the kiln. But we meet, you know, obviously we meet Gamora at the same time, well, just after we meet Ronan, who is the villain of the movie, Ronan the Accuser. He's a Kree warlord, and, you know, does not really approve of the peace treaty between the Kree and the Xandarians, and he's got something to say and things to do and people to kill. So, you know, he's played by Lee Pace, and he does a fantastic job. He's a very good actor. He does a very good job of being very intimidating, and just, I really love his voice, and the way he delivers his lines is just really awesome. So he's fantastic. And then we meet Gamora, played by the wonderful Zoe Saldana, and then we meet Nebula as well, played by the excellent Karen Gillan. She shaved her head for this role as well, if you remember, which is interesting experience. I can't imagine doing that, but, you know, I think it's really cool that she did. She's gorgeous, so it works. But yeah, you know, we meet them, and we assume Gamora's, you know, bad, and then, you know, when she pops up and tries to take the orb from Star-Lord, we're like, oh, this isn't, you know, shit's going down. This is not good. But then, you know, it just becomes this really funny, quick little chase, because just before that, I hope this is flowing well, because, you know, just before that we get our introduction to Rocket and Groot. They're on Xandar looking for their next, you know, big paycheck, and then we get the Stan Lee cameo. He's flirting with some young woman, you know, because he's a womanizer. That's Stan Lee. Look out for him. So that's pretty funny. And then yeah, and then he, you know, they get their eye on Quill because Yondu's put out a big reward for him because he's got the orb and didn't bring it to him. Michael Rooker is great as Yondu, of course, we all know this. Fantastic, love him. Yeah, and then, you know, so Gamora starts chasing after Peter, and then Rocket and Groot start chasing after Peter as well, and then they all kind of get involved, and then they all get arrested and sent to the kiln, and then we get a really cool Nathan Fillion cameo, which I love. It took me a couple of watches to actually realise it was his voice, because I remember reading, like, there was articles online at the time of people going, Nathan Fillion's in Guardians, and blah, 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 like, he's this character in this scene, and I was like, no, he's not. And then, yeah, like, third time watching it, I think I was like, oh, that kind of sounds like him, I guess. Yeah, he's basically, when they get to the kiln, he's the big old CGI monster that threatens to, like, you know, make Quill his bitch, essentially, and then Rocket and Groot, you know, kind of, they, you know, show him who's boss, and yeah, and that's the end of that cameo. And then we get the introduction of Drax. Dave Bautista, in his big breakthrough acting role, I guess. I mean, you know, he's another wrestler turned actor, following in The Rock's footsteps, I guess, for lack of a better example, and well, maybe Triple H too, I guess. But he's perfect for this role. Like, his range is very limited. He's not very, he doesn't emote, like, super, like, you know, intricately, I think is the word I'm looking for. Like, you know, he kind of goes to one extreme or the other of the range he has, which is fine because it works for the character. Because Drax is either very serious or very funny, and he plays it really, really well. So I like the introduction of him. His scene when he's trying to kill Gamora, and Quill stops them is so funny. It's one of my favourite scenes in the whole movie. You know, the whole metaphor. And then, of course, when they're trying to escape, we get the best line of the entire film, when Rocket's explaining to the audience, essentially, or explaining to Quill that Drax's people are completely literal, and everything you say he's going to take exactly as it is. Is like, yeah, and everything, it's like, yeah, metaphors are just going to go right over his head because he's not going to understand them because it's literal to him. And then he's like, nothing gets over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it. So good. I love it so much. I should comment to Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel as Rocket and Groot. Excellent. Bradley Cooper doesn't even sound like Bradley Cooper, and I think that's what helps to make this, because at the time, like, this movie came out, Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel were like the two biggest names attached to this movie, and it's so fitting that the two biggest names were the two that weren't physically on screen, and it works really well because you don't really, you know it's them, but it doesn't take you out of the movie, especially because, you know, like I said, Rocket doesn't sound like Bradley Cooper. You know, he's not like a character Bradley Cooper's really played before. Definitely not. And I think, yeah, that was a really good pick for him, and he does it so well. And Vin Diesel doing Groot is just the easiest gig in the world, really, but he does it wonderfully. Wonderfully. Groot is the best character in these movies, hands down. Love him. Yeah, what else? Oh, yeah. So, if you don't know me too well, you probably don't know, because I'm going to do videos probably coming up about Michael Jackson, because Michael Jackson is my passion aside from Marvel. Love him. So naturally this movie, there's, you know, a couple of little things in it that are references to him that I love, so that kind of, you know, without pun intended here, but it rocked my world. You know, have a look at my shirt. This is my favourite shirt that I have. It's little baby Groot doing the Smooth Criminal lean. So yeah, it's my favourite shirt and I love it. It's fantastic. Oh, the camera's all weird now. There we go. Did I fix it? No, I didn't fix it. Oh dear. Sorry everyone. Technical issues. I thought I would be fine to pick things up. No, apparently not. I just ruin everything. I'm good at that. But anyway, t-shirt, awesome. Groot, awesome. There's a reference to Michael Jackson's Giving Tree in the movie, because the way Groot is, he's kind of just this peaceful, like, you know, giant tree who's like walking and talking, and all he says is 3 words, and Quill's like, you know, what's up with Giving Tree here? And I just, you know, for those that don't realise that's a Michael Jackson reference, that's a Michael Jackson reference. Because his tree, one of his favourite tree at Neverland was his Giving Tree, where he wrote most of his big songs like Heal the World and maybe not Man and Mirror, but he wrote Earth Song in the Tree, and I think Will You Be There as well. But yeah, a bunch of his epic kind of numbers. So I love that little reference. And then of course at the end of the film we get little baby Groot dance into I Want You Back by the Jackson 5, and you should have seen the smile on my face the first time I saw that, and just the cuteness, and yeah, so yeah. And of course that gave birth to this t-shirt that is my favourite t-shirt I've ever had and owned, period. So my 2 favourite things colliding. It doesn't really get too much better than that. So what else? Okay, so important things to talk about in this movie are we get the on-screen debut, essentially, of Thanos. This is the first time we get to see him, you know, kind of interact with someone in a scene, you know, vocally. And it's excellent. And this is where the interconnectedness of the MCU comes into play, is the Thanos scenes. I mean, there's only, you know, a couple of them. And it's Josh Brolin, a wonderful actor. From many wonderful films. I just had a flash to The Goonies, which is why I smile, because he's just, you know, he's Bran from the Goonies to me. He always will be. I don't care. So funny. But yeah, so debut of him, very, very important as well to note that the other, who is played by Alexis Denisov from Buffy and Angel fame, because he's best buds with Joss Whedon, hence the casting in the first Avengers film of the other. And the other is like Thanos's not henchman, kind of like spokesperson, I guess, like, you know, right hand, you know, minion, I suppose. He was the one that was kind of like, you know, giving Loki trouble, you know, giving the whole speech about, you know, you think you know pain, he will make you long for something as sweet as pain. And then the little post-credit scene of him saying to challenge them is to court death to Thanos. So that's the other. He gets killed in this. Ronan decides he's had enough of him. We don't need the other in this movie anymore in the universe. Bye-bye. See you later. And that's, you know, after Ronan kills the other and Thanos doesn't even bat an eye. He's like, oh, whatever, I'll just get another one. I've got a Black Order. It's fine. He, you know, turns around on his chair and he utters his first words, and it's just, ooh, okay, getting a little nervous. Yeah, and so there's that, and then there's, of course, the scene with the Collector, which is very important, because that's when we learn that what's in the orb is an Infinity Stone, and this is the introduction of the 3rd Infinity Stone. Well, technically 4th, because we've already had the Mind Stone introduced, but we haven't seen it in a film yet. Coming up soon, though. Yeah, so we get the Power Stone, and then basically this is when the Collector does his big exposition piece, explaining to the Guardians about the Infinity Stones and what they are, you know. The singularity is concentrated into ingots that were formed into stones of great power that only extremely powerful beings in the universe could wield them without dying. And then, you know, we see the Tesseract, we see the Ether, the only 2 we know of at that point. And then we see the Power Stone and what it can do. So it's pretty hectic stuff. But it's wonderfully important. It's perfectly done. It doesn't feel shoehorned in. It feels like a natural progression of the story. It's really, 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 really cool. And then, you know, seeing how this movie connects back to Avengers and back to Thor 2 is, yeah, it's a real treat for everyone playing the long game. You know, watching Marvel's long game that they've been playing for nearly, for 10 years now. And at that point it was, how many years? 6 years? Yeah. So they're only just past halfway, as I said. So there you go. What else should I mention? Oh yeah, Easter eggs. In that scene, the Collector has a Dark Elf and a Chitauri locked up in one of these little cages. So I thought that was really cool. God, what else should I mention? Just, yeah, the music in this movie is just so on point. It's still probably maybe my favourite, actually, movie soundtrack of all time. It still sells to this day at my work. We sell so much of our Volume 1 soundtrack and Volume 2 as well. They just fly off the shelves. And it's so weird because it's songs that we've been listening to for 30, 40 years, but they've been used in such a way in these movies and in this movie as well to just really communicate just the total vibe of all of these scenes and what's going on, and it suits the characters so well. And not all of them are like big classic hits like I Want You Back. I'd never heard Come Get Your Love before I saw this movie. I'd never heard Go All the Way, or what's the other one I haven't, there's another one I hadn't really heard. I'd never heard Moon Age Daydream by David Bowie, and of course, I'd heard David Bowie before, but Moon Age Daydream, never heard of it, and now it's probably my favourite, second favourite Bowie song. Yeah, it's really great. So I just love that James Gunn, as a director and a writer, has just really taken all of the music and integrated it in such a wonderful way, that it just is that little bit extra, special thing to have. You can have a soundtrack, you can relive the movie outside of watching the movie. We play it at work as well, and it's just makes life so much fun just to have all of this music for, one of the best movies of the last 10 years. It's just awesome. Oh yeah, another Michael Jackson reference. I forgot during the dance-off at the end, the climax of the film, which is so gut-wrenching because, Groot sacrifices himself to save them, and I cried. I cried again. I cry every time. It's just so, and especially now that we know, because James Gunn himself has said that Groot's dead and the baby Groot is his son. So, yeah, it makes it extra sad now, which sucks. But yeah, the whole end scene after that, emotional, and it doesn't detract at all the fact that then, Peter Quill's like, I'm going to distract you by dancing crazy and trying to start a dance off and stuff. And no one knows what the hell he's doing because he's from Earth, or Terra, as they call it. They're just like, what the hell? And Ronan's like, what are you doing? And it's so funny. And he does the Michael Jackson, the leg kick and stuff, which I can't do because I'm not flexible. See, I'm moving around because I'm getting sore from sitting in the same spot for the last 23 minutes. There you go. Yeah, I love it. It's so much fun. And then to follow that scene up with the big epic conclusion of, we're the Guardians of the Galaxy, bitch. And then just, yes. So good. So good. I love it. It's perfect. Yeah, and then we get the post-credit scene that has Howard the Duck, which was such a funny, cool little reference to the movie from the 80s, and of course the Howard the Duck comics, because he's a character in the Marvel comics. And ever since everyone's been asking, does that mean there's going to be Howard the Duck remake, or they're going to try and do it properly? But I don't think there's any plans at this point to do it. But it was cool that Seth Green stepped up and did the lines for that. A quick little bit he says at the end, which is funny. Yeah, gosh, but yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything. Well, the 12% bit I love because when literally the first time I watched it, sitting in the theatre, I specifically remember when they were sitting there talking about the plan, what kind of plan, and Quill's like, I've got part of a plan, and then Drax was like, what percentage of a plan do you have? And I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if he said 12%? And then he said 12%, and I just lost my mind. I was like, yes, it's connection. It's a connection. The number 12 means something. But they've since debunked that theory, which is disappointing because I thought that was pretty awesome. But oh well, whatever. It's fine. So yeah, I guess in summation, the movie is just excellent. One of the best Marvel movies to date. I love it. Go rewatch it if you get the time before Infinity War, because it's just so much fun, and it is, like I said at the top, it's such a good, tight movie. Everything is good about it. There is nothing bad about it at all. So I'm probably going to wrap up now just because I'm running a bit long. Starting to run a bit long. These videos are just getting longer and longer every time, and I, don't mean for them to be, but I just love these movies so much and I have a lot to say. So thank you for watching. When we come back tomorrow, I suppose it'll be tomorrow, if everything goes according to plan outside of filming, we're going to be talking about Avengers Age of Ultron, the sequel, I guess, of Avengers. This first time seeing everybody all teamed up again to take on the next big bad, so stay tuned for my thoughts on that. Thank you so much for watching. I've been a Kendall Richardson, and you've just experienced Collectible Chaos. Collectible Chaos? That's not me. That's my other video series. I meant non-scripted ramblings. Oh god, isn't that funny? I hope you enjoyed that. I did. It was funny. Okay, non-scripted ramblings. You were watching non-scripted ramblings. Thank you for watching non-scripted ramblings. You've just experienced it. I'm gonna go, and I'll see you next time. Bye.